Hey guys, Scotty here. Just wanted to make a video just for some advice for people, and it's something very interesting and very meaningful that I learned while studying psychology and childhood trauma and things like that, and how that affects you and your mental health. And one of the things that comes up a lot, and I read a whole study on it, is the thought of your internal child and what that is. And a lot of people think of it as a manifestation of you, literally as a child, in your head. But if you think about it in terms of your ego, and not the ego that everybody thinks of, the condescending ego that everybody says that you have, but your sense of self, and your sense of you and who you are, and then branching that off into who you were as a child, your experiences, and that untouched, raw emotion that you had. Everybody has an internal child. Everybody does. And we are affected and we learn from experiences that we experience throughout our growth. But what remains inside of our brain and inside of our ego is that internal child. And it's a sense and a personification of your, for lack of better terms, innocence before you've learned mannerisms and things. Which is why they say hate is taught. And these mannerisms that you create are crafted as you grow. And so concepts like toxic masculinity, which a lot of people frankly make fun of or mock, are true and are real things. So for example, if you don't know what toxic masculinity is, it's the thought that being a male, you are required to, one, be strong, two, be emotionally strong, which means no crying, no vulnerability, because that in turn in this ideology makes you weak, and three, that nurturing and being a nurturer is sort of an obscure idea for toxic masculinity. And so we learn these things and we craft these ideologies that stick with us, and we think that these things are our personality and our existence, but it's only a fraction of it inside of the segmented mind that we have. And so going back to what our internal child is grabbing that and realizing who is my internal child, right? And who are they, and what do they want? What are their goals? And what I think of when I think of, the internal child is, what are they, if you feel as though, and personifying it, that they are crying or they're upset or they're sad, think of it as if it was your own child. How would we address this internal conflict, this conflict with our internal child, and how would we address that and use that tension that's in our brain to craft what our existence on the outside as ourselves really is? And it's important to sit down and reflect on what are some past things that have affected my internal child, and in turn, how are those things affecting me? Okay? So we sit down and we think, how can I appease and learn from this internal child that I have, and figure out how to use those things to affect my mental health, right? Growing and becoming my own person, right? And a lot of people fall into fronts of people who they wish they were, and people who strive to become something that they originally might not have been. Like putting on a front of, I am tough, I am strong, I'm not supposed to cry or be vulnerable because that's weak, right? But inside, that internal child doesn't know that, doesn't know the social norms or the toxic masculinity of I am a man, I'm not supposed to cry, I have to be tough. That internal child doesn't know that. And that internal child is trying to break free and is crying for some sort of support. And the first step in accessing that is realizing that that internal conflict and that internal child is struggling. Okay, you acknowledge that it's there and that it's struggling, and then you can work on goals of, okay, now that I know they're struggling, what are they struggling with, and what are my next steps to appease this internal child so then I can be at peace with myself. Okay, what is your internal child struggling with, and what are the steps that you can take to break free from your front that you have and the person that you want to be and are sometimes pretending to be, and acknowledging the true self, the subconscious true self that you are, and finding out what they want, really truly finding out what they want, and then working with that. And once you find out what they want and how you can get that for them, your internal child will be pleased, and therefore you will be pleased. And that's the first step of many internal struggles with trauma and struggles that people have, is just getting to that internal child and acknowledging that and discovering and working with it. And don't be afraid to take the time to sit down and think of what they need, because it's sort of like a symbiotic relationship, right? If they're not getting what they need, you could think all day, maybe it's the money that I need, you know, maybe that's why I'm so down, is because I want money. That internal child doesn't know anything about finances or money, right? You know, you could think that all day, that money and me having lack of money, that's the reason I'm so unhappy, right? But think about it as your internal child. What is the soul surviving thing? What are the mechanisms that they need to survive, and what are they not getting from that? It's not money, but how could lack of money affect that internal child? Think of it as your child, okay? Acknowledge that, truly sit down and think. Throw away financial troubles for a moment, and those are valid, but throw those away for a second, and realize what that piece is that you're missing, right? Grab that, and then you can work on creating something else for that, and working, and then being at peace with yourself. So, thank you. Scotty here, and if you like what you see, please feel free to subscribe on my YouTube, my Twitch. I do gaming, but I'm also going to be start doing a lot more videos talking about psychology and the importance of mental health and self-care. And if you do need help, please reach out to a professional, reach out to friends. It is fantastic to reach out to friends, but don't be afraid to reach out to professionals. And if it gets to the point that you feel like your life is in danger from yourself, contact the many crisis numbers that are out there and that are willing to support you, because your mental health comes before anything else. You truly can't succeed in anything you want unless your mental health is at a full capacity. So please take some time for yourself. Don't forget to love yourself and love others. And I'll see you guys in another video.